This is the part the heavy lifting that you have to do, which really isn't that much. But try to vary your description from citation to citation. Doesn't mean all 50 have to be different, but you want a good smattering of different descriptors, so there isn't an exact match on the description for whatever reason that plays an important role in that. Hey listeners, this is another exciting podcast. This will be series 4 in a series of 12 podcasts on local SEO. Today's topic is, are citations important for local SEO? This is going to be a great podcast. Now, most of these podcasts, you can certainly listen to them via podcasts, but you're going to get the most out of them by going to our YouTube channel. And you can find that by going to localseotactics.com and click on the current episode, which again, we're well into the 200s. There's the major episodes, but this is the latest episode 4 in a 12 series episode. So hopefully that isn't too confusing, but by going to the YouTube channel, it's a lot more informative in terms of visually. You can see some of the tools we're using and some of the concepts we're talking about, which hopefully will help you with the executables, if you will, for your business. The short answer is yes, citations are important for local SEO. They're probably not as important if you're doing a e-commerce site or if you have a bigger national site. The local market isn't super relevant, but this is really for service-based businesses or retail businesses in a local area that want to attract people. And this is really geared towards let's say your GBP, getting in that 3-pack. It has some relevance in the natural SEO, of course, but it's more pertinent to your GBP. And that's where probably most of your leads are going to come from in a service-based business anyways. Probably 60 to 70% of your leads are going to come from your GBPs. I want to go through this quick table here. What is the difference between citations and backlinks? So citations are online mention of your business, or NAP, and that would be name, address, and phone number. And we're going to talk about NAP a lot during this podcast. It is critical that you get your NAP correct in all these listings, or it's effectively worthless. So backlinks are clickable hyperlinks to your website that are placed on other relevant websites with ideally a DR rating that's as high as yours, or domain rating as high as yours, or higher, if we can do that. That's one little note. And then again, citations are used more in that local directory and in review sites, anything that's, again, local geographically, and then also germane to the specific type of service that you provide. So backlinks are found in articles, blogs, directories, and news sites. And that's why eventually we'll talk about press releases. That's typically where you're going to see a backlink occur there. So the SEO focus for citations, again, is more local. And then backlinks are more for your, what we call the naturals or general SEO that is below the 3-pack. That's where backlinks really help boost your ranking there. Is a clickable link in some citations, not always, but it has to be a clickable link in the backlink portion of things. So again, main benefit, validate your business information and boost local trust, where backlinks are increasing authority and again, improves rankings in more of the natural. So as an example, Joe's Pizza, 123 Main Street, phone number has to be the same in your website, has to be consistent on your GBP. Everything has to be identical in doing this. Failure to do that will create basically no results for you in terms of getting those local citations. So, and then a backlink is a simple backlink that would be embedded on somebody else's website. So that being said, I'm going to move on to our next topic. I got a lot of notes here. So how do you know if you have what your citation situation is for your business? So there's a way you could figure it out, and you would type in the negative sign, cite, : in this case, helpertech.com, and then we use the name of the business, Helpertech. And what this does is it lists all the sites outside of yours that your site is located, or your citation is named in. And again, that's your address. So in this case, we have Yelp, LinkedIn. Again, that's a social, right? Yelp is a directory. MapQuest is a directory. Facebook is a social. MapQuest, again, another directory. Panhandle, I'm not sure what that is. I guess it's more of a news channel. Better Business Bureau. And then YouTube is somewhat of a social. Nextdoor, which is more of a local entity. You get the idea here. So you can use this same technique to spy on your competitors, and that becomes relevant here in the future. So in this case, I just typed in negative site, Gopher Mods. They're a phone repair company, and you can see all their backlinks as well. So we have, again, a social, another social, a listing directory, another listing directory, a local news channel, Yelp, of course, Indeed, and on it goes. So this is a cool tool. I mean, it's just a command. It's free, but it tells you what you have for citations if you're not sure. If you don't have a lot, obviously, that's okay. That's why you're listening. But then you can put your competitors in there, and then what people do is do a whole spreadsheet of what they have. So the goal here is to match what your competitors have that are already in the 3-pack. Okay? I wouldn't worry about your competitors that aren't in the 3-pack, obviously. These are competitors that are in the 3-pack, and you can create a spreadsheet and list all their citations. So ultimately, the goal is to match what they have in terms of ideally the same type of citations or very similar, and then go 10% more. So you don't need to go 2x, you just need to go 10, 20% more, and that should get you in the 3-pack, if that makes sense. So, and you can use, let's say there's a 3-pack with 3 competitors, you can go and analyze each of their citations to come up with that formula. Now, you can do this all by hand. It's going to probably take you 10 to 40 hours to do all that, or eventually you can use a tool that comes at a price, but I think it's pretty reasonable. And those tools we'll get into here in a second. So let's talk about some of the primary citations that you should be shooting for right out of the chutes. But before we do that, we're going to talk about NAP. And let's talk about the consistency of NAP. I'm going to use this as an example. Most of you are familiar with the company 3M, right? And we'll just pick on 3M here to use as an example how they should do it locally. They have to pick their NAP. Now, 3M stands for Minnesota Mining Manufacturing, right? However, their brand is 3M. So you would stick to 3M on everything. So any and all listings should stick to 3M, the same address, the same phone number if you can, depending on, again, if it's a locally based 3M situation. So 3M is based here in Minnesota. Their corporate headquarters are in Minnesota. I believe it's Maplewood. But basically, if you had a branch in Omaha and you wanted to be found in Omaha, you would do a local citation setup for that with the page, okay, the pages that represent that Omaha location being part of that NAP. Does that make sense? So it's critical you get all those things, the address, phone number, everything right that is in the website on either the header or the base area of the website. So basically, or the footer, I'm sorry. So it's critical to get that dialed in exactly for everyone. So hopefully I've beaten that into the ground enough for you to understand that you cannot mess around with that. Don't put any variances. In other words, list one as an LLC, but then don't list the other as an LLC. It just doesn't. Google is smart. They're looking for that symmetry and everything throughout the NAP, so to speak. So what are the top citations that you're trying to list for? Bing Places, okay, it goes back to GBP, right? Google Business Profile. You want to get that done first. That's why we talked about that first. And then Bing Places, which is kind of Bing's version of the GBP. Okay. Then Yelp, Yellow Pages is another good one. And then Apple Map Connect. So people are doing searches I know I have done searches through Apple Maps, particularly for directory or to get to where I need to go, and it auto populates and we're good to go. So that's another critical one. Now, the trick with Apple Maps is they're going to call your business on the number that's listed on your GBP or even on your website. Again, those numbers have to be the same in order to have that consistency. So they're going to call one or both of those numbers. I should say one of those numbers. If it goes to your phone number, your either personal cell or whatever it is that you can pick up, great. Because they'll call and they'll validate, your business and everything that goes with it. If it goes to your general number, you're going to have to brief everybody that answers that phone. Like, hey, I'm expecting a call in the next couple of days. Unfortunately, they don't do it right away. But the next couple of days, I'm expecting a call from Apple validating things. I printed this out. This is what you need to say. Make sense? So going on, there's Foursquare. Again, Instagram's a social element. If you have a Facebook page, create that. Obviously, if you create Facebook, then you can create the Instagram and then Manta. So that's a start to this process. And I just want to take a quick second here. I'm hoping you're enjoying everything we're talking about here today on Local SEO Tactics. If you're watching us on YouTube, if you could like or subscribe, we'd appreciate it. It really helps us out a lot. And then if you're listening on any of the podcast venues, whether it's Apple or Stitcher or any of the other venues, if you could leave a review, again, that helps us out a lot in the algorithms. And again, I ask you this because it's very similar to leaving reviews on your GBP. What Google is looking for in AI or whatever you want to call it is edification of your business. They want to know that you're a valid business, and the more you can edify your business with all these entities, the better you're going to show up in the search results. It's just kind of how business is. And again, if we use the analogy, if you've ever interviewed somebody for a job or you yourself have provided a resume or an application for somebody for a job, they look at where did you work, okay? So they can check with your previous employers to see that you were a good employee, and then references. So, whether it's friends, family, doesn't matter. You want to validate that this person I'm going to hire is a good person. It can actually execute the job. And that's the goal of Google. They want to make sure you're legit, so then they can serve you up in the search rankings. And it's somewhat of a game. So depending on the size of your business and how far your reach is, you're going to have to do some of these steps, whether it's citations, backlinks, or getting more of a content out there in terms of a YouTube channel or possibly a podcast channel if you're at a professional level, because you want to draw in people from as far as you can, and all those things will help you do that. A little bit of a sidetrack, I know, but that's basically how the game is played. Well, let's talk about niche or industry-specific citations that are important to your business. So if you're not sure how to do this, you could go to ChatGPT and use the prompt, act as an SEO specialist, okay? I am looking to get industry-specific citations for my business, which is a framing company. We frame pictures, or we frame memorabilia, and we do specialization there. And then ChatGPT will say, yeah, you want to see if you can get a listing in United Framing Association or whatever it might be, and that citation will help, again, get that edification of your business. So that's all SEO is getting as much edification of your business as possible. And the more that you do, the higher you're probably going to rank in the end of the day. That's why you could do that as a business owner if you have more time than money, but then you can also pay an agency like us or others to do that for you. Again, that's one way of doing it. And then you can also go reach out to, let's say, local associations like the Rotary in your area, Chamber of Commerce. You might require joining some of those. And then you can either sponsor some teams or work with a nonprofit there too, right? To get engagement, to see if we can get citations that way. And so it has to work, right? So if you have the time and the bandwidth to do all that, and the heart for a certain nonprofit, you can do that as well. So those are all things, or there are things, maybe the things you're doing already, but you just haven't reached out to say, hey, can I have you list us on your directory, right? And then you want to tie that in with your citations. You can also reach out to local magazines and local papers just to see, hey, would you be interested in finding out how we repair cell phones, or how the back glass on cell phones are repaired, or hey, don't throw that cell phone away, all you need to do is fix the battery. Those are different ideas and stories. It all depends on your business that you think, might have some interest, or at least the most interesting part of your business that can create buzz for a news station. So again, we talked about checking your competitors. So you want to get a list of everything that they have if they're already in the 3-pack. And we talked about how you can audit that. But then let's talk about the paid tools that are out there. So my favorite is one called Bright Local. So I'm gonna list a couple of them here. So Bright Local, White Spark, SEMrush, and then within SEMrush, it's called SEMrush Listing Management. And so what these will do, these tools, is they'll go out and they will look at your competitors and they'll figure out what citations they have. They're going to tell you what citations you need to get. And then the ones they can get, they'll get it for you. And then they'll charge you. So they'll charge you probably $1.20, which is pretty cheap. But they'll charge you about $1.20 to get those citations. Again, you got to fill that NAP out correctly. It has to be consistent for each of those. And then the thing you want to vary there is, let's say, a description of your business. Do not use the same. This is the heavy lifting that you have to do, which really isn't that much. But try to vary your description from citation to citation. Doesn't mean all 50 have to be different, but you want a good smattering of different descriptors, so there isn't an exact match on the description for whatever reason that plays an important role in that. So I think we could do a whole separate podcast on each of these tools. They're all really good. I'm kind of biased. I think Bright Local seems to be the easiest to work with. So they're about $1.20 a citation plus whatever Bright Local might charge for a monthly fee for their software. So that for the individual company, it's usually between 30 and 50, and then you pay $1.20 for that citation initially. Okay, and you don't have to pay ongoing. It's just that one time you pay for that citation. So, and then the other strategy you can do is submitting your business details to business data aggregators. So a big one in the U.S. is Newstar Localese, I believe it's called. So it's LOCALEZE. So for the United States, that's a huge business aggregator, data business aggregator. You can jump on that. I'm not even sure the fees. We don't generally use them, but you can look into that if you need to get a lot. So most citations are usually between 50 and 100, and you don't need, again, to get 200 or a lot more than your competitor. It's not going to do much for you. You just need to be about 10, 20% more than your competitors. And again, you want to revisit this about every 3 months to make sure everything's accurate, make sure your competitors don't have more, so you're not losing rank. And you will see in a grid pattern, if you use tools like Local Falcon or Bright Local itself, as you bring on these citations and as you get reviews, right, that's an important piece, you'll begin to see your grid pattern grow along with doing posts and some other things. But I think citations and reviews play the biggest role in that, increasing that grid pattern. And then Canada data aggregator, sorry to jump around, but their data aggregator is called Data Axle. So if you're in Canada, that's a good data aggregator. And then if you're in Australia, it's Census. It's SENSIS is another great data aggregator for you folks in Australia. And again, I'm going to repeat probably for the 4th time, make sure your NAP is correct, the same in all of these instances, whether you're using a data aggregator, Bright Local, or you're doing this by hand. That NAP has to be the same as it reflects on your website. Also, to help you on the monitoring, so Hrefs, SEMrush, These are great tools to help monitor that over time. You want to look at it probably every 2 to 3 months, depending on how competitive things are in your market. If there's really only a handful of competitors, every 3 months, probably. If it's something crazy competitive like DWI, attorney in Las Vegas, you're going to want to be on top of that probably every month for sure. So we talked about Bright Local. Okay, and again on the description, make sure you spin it a little bit. AI can help you with that. If you're having problems with that, you could, what I would do is maybe go to ChatGPT and say, hey, this is a basic description of my business. And you could do, let's say, a paragraph, and then ask it to come up with as many variations, effectively saying the same thing, so I can put it in Citations and tell me you need up to 50 of them or something. And then it'll spit it out, and then you're probably good to go that way. That is about it. I know I jumped around a lot. I'm hoping this was helpful. Again, if you need any help with your business, either on the local SEO in terms of the GBP or more of the organic, we'd be more than happy to help. We do a free audit. We have a free conversation over the phone. Just tell you where you stand. We'll obviously throw out a quote if you need our help. And you can reach us at localseotactics.com. And then there's a free audit button. Just click that, fill it out, and then we'll be in touch probably within 12 to 24 hours. Let's see how we can help you out. So that's it for now. Thanks for watching and listening. And we'll be back next week. Next week, we're going to talk more about on-page SEO in terms of a lot of things. So it's going to be a real gritty segment. So we're going to be talking about, again, mostly on-page SEO, and it's going to be talking about H1 tags, H2 tags, a lot of stuff. So we're going to try to pack as much as we can in there on the on-page piece, and then go from there. So we're just about through we're like a third of the way through. So we should be wrapping this up probably, I would think, the end of August, early September. And then we're going to jump into a really cool series. I think we're going to do some webinars where we're going to be actually helping people set up their websites and getting them ready for SEOs, if you will, and going from there. So thanks for listening. We'll see you next week. Thanks.